Hello there, and welcome back to another episode of Cloud with Chris. You're with me, Chris Reddington, and here we talk about all things cloud. Now, we are in weekly vlog number 14, so thank you for joining me. And this one is actually live. This one is a live stream rather than a prior recording. It's Easter Sunday here today. It's been a nice, relaxing few days. We have a public holiday on Good Friday, a public holiday on Easter Monday as well, so I figured why not go live and do this one. Today's actually been very relaxing. I've been playing a little bit of gaming on my Xbox today. Been on Sea of Thieves for a few hours. Actually, was engrossed in that, doing some new challenges, new quests, and things along the way as well. So hopefully, you're finding a way to go ahead and relax and enjoy some time off. So lots to cover today, so we're going to move swiftly through things here. We're going to start off once again with the Azure blog, then we're going to move on, I think, to the Azure updates, then to the Azure DevOps blog, GitHub blog, and then the CloudWithChris updates. Lots of good fun updates this week, and I think some interesting content coming this week as well. So without further ado, let's go ahead and jump over to the screen share. There we go. So we are kicking off here first, as I mentioned, with the Azure blog. So I'm going to read all of the blogs that came out this week because the majority of them I thought were quite relevant and interesting. So rather than leaving any out, let's just go and quickly run through them all here. So number one is there's actually a free digital event coming up on April the 29th, which is all focused around Azure storage. So demos around the latest and greatest, understanding how you can go and map Azure storage to your workloads, for example, and being able to have some Q&A, for example, with some of the Microsoft experts. So it sounds like a great event if you think storage might be part of your own solution. So go ahead, check that one out if that is you. Okay, so next up then we have a really interesting and exciting post, I thought, actually, that Microsoft has been named as a leader in the Forrester Wave function as a service platform. So, similar to Gartner, for example, Forrester is another one of those industry reports that people typically look at, and Microsoft has been named as one of the leaders here in functions as a service. So I think I'm a big fan of Azure Functions. I've mentioned on the channel before some of the work that I've done around it with Azure Functions for my Yu-Gi-Oh cards kind of project that I was working on. So I think that's just some great recognition for the direction and for the actual platform that's being built there. So kudos to the team for that one. Next up then, we have an update on Azure Cost Management. So this next one is all a recap, really, in terms of what came out in March. And of course, there was quite a fair bit. New cost views for subscriptions, lots of information there with cost management labs, for example, and some great new content out there about demystifying cloud economics as well. So some good updates there. And again, if you're interested in the cost management side, check that particular blog post out. And then another great blog post from Sarah Lean, who I mentioned previously is going to be with Azure Thames Valley this month. So if you haven't seen that already and you're part of the community, go ahead over to meetup.com, check out Azure Thames Valley over there, because Sarah's going to be giving a great talk with us all about hybrid cloud. But in this particular blog post, Sarah talks about enterprise scale once again. So this continuing series that herself and I believe Thomas Maurer has also been writing a few blog posts there as well, talking about some of these pillars when thinking about enterprise scale, these kind of 8 design areas, if you like. So talking through some of those here as well. So again, if you're on that journey, beginning that, might be worth taking a look at that one if you want to set up your foundations in a way alongside some of those recommended practices there. And then finally, this last one is about a new solution coming out for Oracle WebLogic. So this is to do with Azure Virtual Machines and some partnership that is happening between Oracle and between Azure, and some extra functionality that is now available for these types of virtual machines. I'll be honest, I'm not so familiar with WebLogic, but I know there are some organizations out there that do have dependencies. It's come across in my travels a few times. So again, if that's something where you have some investment already, might just be worth having a look at what that update entails there on that latest blog post. So go and check that one out as well. So let's go and move on here to the latest Azure updates. Again, we're going to quickly run through all of these. I'm going to get my glass of water ready because I have no doubt my voice will disappear having to run through some of these. There's quite a few this week. So let's go ahead and start off through these. General availability for Stream Analytics running on Azure Stack Hub. Public preview for service tags for user-defined routing. Backup for Azure Managed Disks is now generally available. Generally available is Azure Communication Services. Encryption scopes in Azure Storage is now generally available. Azure Data Explorer External Tables is now generally available. The Wire Data 2.0 preview will be retired on the 31st of March 2022. General availability of changes coming to Azure Pipeline free grants. We've mentioned that on the channel before. Azure Event Grid now provides support for delivery headers and additional advanced filters, amongst other updates. Networking for key vault references on Windows and App Service and Azure Functions. Public preview of Azure Database for Postgres SQL Flexible Server now connects with Azure CLI. Public preview Azure Database for MySQL Flexible Server now connects with Azure CLI. General availability, VM level disk bursting available on all DSv3 and ESv3 families. Public preview Cognitive Services Form Recognizer new features. Public preview of Azure Kubernetes Service AKS run command feature. That one we're just going to dig into for a moment because I think that is an awesome feature. That one is effectively a way through the Azure CLI being able to run a command, effectively AKS run, and you can run through the AKS API plane the commands on the Kubernetes node themselves. So imagine you have a private AKS cluster, or you have a scenario where you don't have the Kubernetes context, but you are able to get Azure CLI, for example, then that is a way that you can go ahead and use that. And they've managed to do it in such a way that it honors role-based access control permissions as well. So check that one out as well. Next up then, AKS now supports node image auto upgrade in public preview. A very nice update there, especially when we think about kind of the resilience and keeping up that underlying infrastructure there. Insights and workbooks for Azure Cosmos DB is now in public preview. Public preview of zone redundant configuration for Azure SQL Database Serverless Compute tier. Azure Database for Postgres Flexible Server public preview available in new regions. GA of Kubernetes 1.20 support in AKS. That is GA, as I mentioned there. Open Service Mesh add-on is now available for AKS. That has been getting quite a bit of love where I've shared it on Twitter and LinkedIn already, so check that one out because that's already making some waves. Azure Static Web Apps now supports deployment with Azure DevOps, a great update. That was a big requested feature for the Azure Static Web Apps team, so kudos to the team for getting that one out. General availability of Express Route monitoring in Azure Monitor Network Insights. Enabling IBM WebSphere on Azure Kubernetes Service. Azure Private Link for Azure Cache for Redis is now GA. Azure SQL Managed Instance. A performance optimization change for default settings is coming soon. Azure Sphere OS version 21.03 is now generally available. General availability of Azure Backup supports backup and restore of Azure Dedicated Host. Public preview, backup and restore of Azure VM scale sets with uniform and flexible orchestration is now supported. That one I found particularly interesting, actually. I haven't had a chance to look at that yet, but that's on my list to go and explore. Microsoft Power Effects, the open source low-code programming language, is in public preview. General availability, Azure Monitor for Windows Virtual Desktop. Azure Security Center GA updates for March 2021, and there is a list of those available in that Azure update. We're probably not going to cover all those just because of time, but again, worth considering and taking a look at. Azure Security Center public preview updates as well. Again, a summary of that. There's also then an updated app service authentication portal experience, which is now GA. I did have a quick scan of that the other day. That one's quite interesting. There is a new portal experience, improved usability, initial setup and increased security are some of the things they say in the initial description there. But I believe there are actually some performance enhancements, or not performance, but feature enhancements there as well. So go and take a look at that if you've been using the authentication built-in experience for App Service. And additional regions available for Azure Data Factory, now available in Norway East and UAE North. So if that is you, go ahead, check that one out. Next up, we have the Azure DevOps blogs, and there's only 3 this week, so not too many. The first one is actually from Jay Gordon, but the content itself is provided once again by Peter Detender, who has come up a few times in the recent episodes. And this one is a follow-on from the, I think it was a blog post that Peter recently did around identity and service principles and whatnot. So once again, really a good focus on that, which I think is a very important topic, a very worthwhile topic to consider and make sure that you know actually. So go ahead and check out that blog from Jay Gordon, and of course starring Peter Detender as well. It's been a while since we've had any updates on this one, but Delivery Plans 2.0, there are some additional updates here now. So they have now announced that they have got card styling in Delivery Plans 2.0. And then there were also some clarifications made about how to deal with dependency lines between different items, for example. And if the work items aren't showing, how to actually get them showed as well. So they are on track, they say in this blog post, to GA Delivery Plans 2.0 at the end of April, so that's quite exciting, and I think that is a very rich set of functionality there. I'm just bringing up a screenshot on the screen here, and when you think about that portfolio view, I think that's something that I've heard a lot of people ask for, and to see that there now across these different teams, being able to understand how these epics and these features overlap, interrelate with each other, great aspect there to be looking into. So again, if you have those dependencies across teams, that one might be an interesting update to go and review. Now, next up, we have the stories from the Microsoft DevOps community. So there's a few this week. The first one here is using Terraform together with Azure Pipelines and GitHub Actions. The second one is branch name as a variable in Azure DevOps Pipelines with YAML. That one sounds quite interesting in terms of adding some flexibility into those pipelines. Setting up a CI/CD data pipeline based on Azure DevOps, Azure Data Factory, and Azure Databricks. I'm seeing a lot appear in the data science, data pipeline, data DevOps kind of space. So that is one that I'm certainly going to be checking out a bit later. How I made my blog cheap to host, customizable, and lightning fast, part 1, setting up Azure DevOps and our headless CMS. It sounds like something I would have written the amount I'm talking about Hugo and static content, etc. But that is not one of my blog posts. So again, I might take a look at that when I'm intrigued what they're doing there. And finally, clear up confusion about different versions of Azure DevOps. So a good variety of posts there this week. And finally, on the GitHub blog, to wrap up Women's History Month, excuse me, there was a blog post a little earlier this week starring and showcasing some of the great work that some of the women at GitHub are doing. And then there's a site, I believe, called the README Project, which I'll just open on screen again here, where they, again, just showcase some of the great work that is being done. And again, I think it's something that does need to be advocated and showcased a lot more. Unfortunately, there is still this gap and this inequality effectively, and I think this is a great article and a great project that GitHub have been showcasing here, and I'd love to see more of that in the community. So thank you for sharing that to the team at GitHub. And I did have a scan through all of this earlier in the week, and it was interesting, some of the projects actually that are listed here. weren't on my radar at all. So again, a really interesting post here, and I think for one, or rather anyone who wants to make sure that they are keeping on top of all of the different, things that are going on within our industry, representation of women, I think, is one of those important topics right now, amongst other ones like, Black Lives Matter and numerous other movements that are going on right now. So please do take the time to review that, because I think that is very important and worthwhile to go and familiarize yourself with. Next up then, in terms of blog posts, there was a blog post from GitHub about GitHub Advanced Security, where they are introducing a security overview beta and the GA of secret scanning for private repositories. So again, I've said it before, I'm going to keep saying it again. GitHub is doing some incredible things in the DevSecOps space and really has some amazing tooling from a security perspective. So go ahead and take a look, because honestly, the more I see about this, the more excited I get about GitHub's security offerings. So that's something I'm going to be digging into for sure. GitHub Desktop now supports cherry picking. Cherry picking is one of those things that I have a bit of a love-hate relationship. I think my general thought process is that if you need to go and cherry pick too often, then there's probably an indicator that maybe you need to adjust your branching strategy, because you're not safeguarding what is going into production, or your overall branching approach is not quite working for you. But I admit sometimes it is needed, of course. So great that it's now available in GitHub Desktop. I think GitHub Desktop is a great handy tool, especially for folks who prefer the more visual approach than the command line. So again, great to see the investment and the updates there. And then finally, GitHub Mobile, or mobile, depending on where you're listening in from. There has been some enhancements on the notifications for GitHub Mobile, particularly the push notifications. So focusing around boundaries, for example, and setting working hours, what you want your notification workflow to be, and being able to view releases on the go as well. So again, that keeps getting better and better. I can't wait until there's additional support for GitHub Actions, because there are times where I'm on the go, I've forgotten to approve one of my pull requests, or not pull requests, sorry, you can do that, but I've forgotten to approve one of my actions to be deployed into one of my environments. I don't quite have that yet. You still need to go and launch it in a separate browser, which it can do, but I'd love to see that integrated experience. So all good steps in the right direction. So again, thank you GitHub team for those additional changes. So CloudWithChris, that is now what we are on here. Busy week once again, actually, and a busy week coming up next week. So started off last week with weekly vlog 13. Of course, you would have been able to see that last week, so we won't recap this time. On Tuesday, I released another Cloud Drop episode. This one was all focused on why use Git, how to get started. So whereas the previous Git episode that I released was a bit like a behind the scenes, behind the curtain, what's actually happening, this one is more focused on the foundations, a beginner's guide, and getting started with Git, and some of those commands like git clone, git pull, git push, git init, all of these things, and getting started with those. So again, just a bit of a visual or interactive way of learning a bit about Git there, so go ahead, check that one out if that's of interest. And then what I did on Thursday, because this was such a long blog post in the end that I took a little bit of time writing this one up, actually, because I wanted to make sure it was right. I combined those two Cloud Drop episodes into a single blog post. So if you prefer learning more through reading things and reference, then there's a bit of information there all about setting up Git and getting started, how to set up your Git repositories, Git push, Git pull, and more of a reference walkthrough type scenario there. So again, go ahead, check that one out if you're interested in learning a bit about Git. And this should be content which is available and what's the word I'm looking for, an appropriate level for anyone who is a data scientist, a developer who has never done Git before, an infrastructure engineer, a data scientist, whoever you may be. That content should hopefully be for you. The Git 101 as well as that blog post. So please go ahead, check that one out, because I hope that will be useful. So what we're also going to do is we're also going to go and jump onto YouTube quickly, because one of the things that I wanted to jump in on here is on Wednesday, I was part of a panel discussion all about how to get started in blogging as well. And it was so much fun, honestly. I think you can tell that by if you listen into that video and that recording. We all had a lot of fun. So there was Sarah Lean, there was Shannon Quinn. I probably butchered Shannon's name, so I'm very sorry. Please correct me if you are listening, Shannon. Jamie Maguire and John Lunn. Again, great folks in the community, people who have been blogging and doing some community work for quite some time. So we all shared our insights there that actually you just need to get started. You just need to go ahead and do it for the reasons that are appropriate for you. So go ahead, listen to that blog post. It was great to get some engagement and some feedback from folks listening into the chat there live. And as I say, we had a lot of fun and hopefully inspired a few people to get going with their blogging there. Let me just jump back a few here as we're out of order. Here we go. Next up then, so on Friday, I released the content with Peter Piper, the latest Architecting for the Cloud one pattern at a time episode. This one was all about the external config and claim check patterns. So making the management of your applications easier from a configuration perspective, and also being able to externalize payloads by using the claim check pattern. Two great patterns, and again, I know it's called Architecting for the Cloud one pattern at a time. Maybe I need to rename that series, I don't know. But a great fun session with Peter there, and a very informative one. So please go ahead, check that one out if you are following that series at all. And then yesterday, so I released another cloud drop, this time all about how Windows Terminal can make you productive in Azure. Windows Terminal is one of those applications I would not be without, honestly. I absolutely adore Windows Terminal. I think it's a great application. I love the fact that I'm able to go ahead and use WSL, that I'm able to go and use Azure Cloud Shell, PowerShell Core, or even just by opening a new profile, able to go ahead and SSH into a virtual machine. And if you want to learn more all about that, go and check out that video, because we talk all about how to do that in that video. And then in terms of talks, this week is exciting. I've mentioned it a couple of times in the past, but I'm going to be speaking on Tuesday at the Northern Azure User Group. The first speaker is none other than Scott Hanselman, and then I'll be speaking after Scott, and I'm so pleased to be speaking at the same event. I'm really excited to be speaking for the Northern Azure User Group, especially having Scott there as well. So again, you know, I think looks like an exciting night. It's going to be very blog themed, because Scott is talking about, I think, how he modernized one of his web apps. I think he talks about his blog, but I might be wrong there. But then, of course, I'll be talking about GitHub Actions and how I use those to drive my own blog. And then not next week, but the week after, we've got Global Azure coming up, and I actually just received a few emails this morning that I had 3 sessions accepted for Cloud Lunch and Learn Marathon as well, so that will be coming up as well, and I'll need to be recording those. So busy times ahead, so I might slow down a little bit on the cloud drops and some of the content here, just to make sure I can record some of that content for the Lunch and Learn Marathon. But lots going on this month. Lots and lots going on this month. But exciting times. On Wednesday, I've got the 3rd episode of Cloud Gaming Notes coming out with Lee Williams. This one we talk all about inventory economy, and we touch once again on this idea of live ops, and really this concept about building a community. Honestly, I really enjoyed that session, because there were some good nuggets and, you know, pearls of wisdom that both of us gleaned from each other there as we were talking. We had a good catch up after recording that session, and just really how gaming really is becoming less about delivering a game, but building a community. Really, really interesting session there with Lee. So thank you again, Lee, for joining. And for anyone who's following that series, listening on Wednesday, because another great session there. And next month, actually, Lee won't be joining us. Lee's going to be having a break. I'll be joined by my good friend Dom, who has been building a Sudoku social game. So that's going to be very interesting. And he'll be talking about how he's used cloud technologies to enable that game. And if you are or know, for example, someone who is in the game development space, and whether an indie gamer, work at a game studio, I'd love to have more people talking about their experiences building games on the show. So please go ahead and pass on details, because I'd love to have people on to talk about that. Now, the aim is also to get another Architecting for the Cloud one pattern at a time episode out on Friday. This time it'll all be about the bulkhead pattern. So hopefully I'll record that sometime this week. And then that will be the content for this week. Of course, there will hopefully be a blog out on Wednesday as well. We'll see, though, because I have got a new toy arriving this week. For anyone who follows me on Twitter, I ordered a new MacBook Pro M1 coming on hopefully Wednesday. So that's my usual blogging day. So I might be a little distracted on Wednesday with my new shiny toys. So we'll see. But hopefully the intent, at least, is to deliver a new blog post on Wednesday as well. So as I say, busy times coming up content-wise. And that is it. So let's jump away from the screen and wrap things up here. Oh, so there we go. There is a lot going on content-wise. A lot of things going on. You know what to do, right? There is so much content that I'm creating at the moment. I'm doing that because I really want to help give back to the community. I really want to drive more content, drive value, and make sure I'm helping the community grow and learn together. So if you're interested in coming on the show, please take a look at my website, cloudwithchris.com. There's details on there about how you can become a guest and submit some sessions. I do have a bit of a backlog at the moment. I'm booked out until August, but I am getting back to people, so that's my aim, either later today or tomorrow, to start getting back to some additional folks as well. And of course, if you're not quite up to speaking and you just want to go ahead, keep consuming content, that's absolutely fine. You can do that on YouTube. And if you are, please go ahead, like the episode, hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so you know as soon as there is new content. And of course, you don't have to watch on YouTube. You can, of course, listen, whether that is on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, or cloudwithchris.com, where, of course, you can also read the transcript as you listen in as well. Your feedback is super appreciated, because it really helps me prioritize. And my backlog is completely open. It's all over on GitHub. You can see what I'm prioritizing for and when. So if you do want to help me understand, what it is that you're interested in, let me know. Just get in touch. I'm very active over on Twitter. Just drop me a message, tweet me. I'm more than happy to chat and try and understand what more I can do to help here. So with that, thank you once again for listening in. This has been weekly vlog number 14. So 14 of these we've been doing now, and going strong with the regular weekly content with blogs and episodes and cloud drops and all these different things. So thank you for the support. Stay safe, stay healthy, and until next time, all I have to say is thank you for watching, and bye for now.